Hello, I'm Georgia Shakti Hill, and I want to welcome you to Living in Balance. And we are Living in Balance in San Francisco. We are so pleased to have guests who are going to share with us forgiveness, because forgiveness is the key to happiness, and forgiveness works. So come join us. I am so pleased to have Doctors Diane Cirincione and Jerry Jampolsky, PhD and MD, and partners in life and in forgiveness. Welcome.
Good to be here.
It's wonderful to be here, Shakti. Thank you.
Well, you certainly have shared the concept of forgiveness for years and years with people, and it just keeps growing, and we still need to forgive, don't we?
I believe so.
Well, my own personal experience with Love is Letting Go of Fear, which was a book that you had authored, Jerry, was so profound. It really changed my life. And that was many, many years ago. And I sat down with the book, and I couldn't put it down until I had read the whole thing. And then it introduced me to A Course in Miracles, and I became a student and a teacher of that. So this is close to my heart, and I'm so pleased that, forgiveness being the subject, you still have, again, a wonderful work here of forgiveness, the greatest healer of all. Now, tell me about the Forgiveness Project. It is worldwide, and it is very powerful and profound, and you're both involved.
We're both very involved, and first involved because I don't think you can possibly have a successful marriage unless it's completely based on forgiveness. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
Jerry and I received some very, very strong guidance individually as well as collectively that forgiveness, which has been a cornerstone of attitudinal healing work, that be as important to us as eating and breathing, and that we bring it out in the world in such a way that we can cross-culturally create a tapestry of the variations on the theme, so people will come to understand each other's experiences of forgiveness. And we're doing that through the collection of forgiveness stories from around the world onto our website, forgivenessworks.org, as well as the creation of forgiveness gardens.
And you know, Jerry, the Centers for Attitudinal Healing, that was your baby. That's what you started many years ago.
1975, actually.
Oh, wow. And those centers are all over the world.
There are about 150 centers or groups around the world, all offering free services.
And in all these different countries, and I understand, even the book that I was making reference to, Love is Letting Go of Fear, you said that it is even translated into Farsi?
That is, but the new book, the Forgiveness book, is translated into some countries that hadn't been in before, like it's translated into Indonesia, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey. These are places where other books hadn't been received yet.
And we do have, this forgiveness book is the 6th book of ours now being published unedited in Iran.
Wonderful. Ooh. Now, you are the president of the Jampolsky Outreach Program?
Outreach Foundation, yes.
Okay. And so all of this, you're seeing on a worldwide basis that we can work together, we need to work together for forgiveness, and forgiveness is something that we can accomplish.
Absolutely, it's something we can accomplish, and I think it's really helpful to look further into understanding what it is and maybe what it's not. And forgiveness, doesn't mean agreeing with someone else's outrageous behavior or supporting inappropriate acts. Forgiveness we look at forgiveness from the perspective of how you come to the place where you can really master your own inner life, where you can look at your judgments and see where your own pain is, to free yourself from that and have an integrity and a harmony in what you're thinking and saying and doing, and then go forward to make decisions in the world, not out of taking your anger to an angry situation and making more anger, or bringing your rage to a raging situation.
I think we need to look at forgiveness in a different way. A lot of people don't forgive because they say, well, it's a sign of weakness, or it's saying what that person did was okay, or condoning or agreeing with it. We don't forgive because we say, well, that person will just do it again. And we don't realize that when we don't forgive, we're holding on to the toxins of anger, which really can affect every part of our body, every organ in our body. And really, the decision not to forgive is really a decision to suffer. And when we do forgive, it's really a decision to find a sense of peace and happiness. So forgiveness doesn't have anything to do with the other person. It's not like the two people coming together and say, "Oh, isn't this wonderful? We can be together again." The other person may not change, but we can change the pain that we're carrying on. And that's what forgiveness is releasing of the painful past.
Well, initially in your work as a medical doctor, psychiatry was your field.
Correct.
And what, as I recall in your work, you worked with people who were experiencing illness, often terminal illness, and especially with children. And they needed to really, in order to heal, whether it was physically or spiritually, they needed to forgive.
Yes, I don't think we realize how much our unforgiving thoughts interfere with chemotherapy, of any kind. So as we learn to open the door for people to make choices, we don't tell people they should forgive, we say their choices. And when they make that choice to forgive, even the dying patient can die in peace when they begin to let go of some of the things they've been holding on to.
And we look at health as inner peace and healing as the letting go of fear. So our work isn't about healing bodies, it's about healing your mind, healing your heart.
And you know, it's interesting, just when you think that you've mastered it, you have an opportunity to forgive again.
Well, it's not a one-shot thing.
No,
I think
sure
it's a continuous process throughout our life. And the Center of Attitude Healing in Sausalito, California, which is really the mother center, now has been doing workshops in forgiveness. They're doing many things for the community to help people find, you can really find a sense of inner peace even when chaos and fear and uncertainty is going on all around you.
And you can choose inner peace, and it really is something that you do consciously, and that's what you're trying to educate people to, that what they can do is they can control their response to a situation, not the situation, and that is the healthiest thing they can do to maintain that inner peace.
And we don't have to be robots that just respond with anger. There's nothing wrong with anger, but it's the holding on to the anger that gets us in trouble, the attachment to anger that so many of us have.
And if I could just interject,
Sure.
it's really an important point to make, is that there's no room for denial in this work. It's actually about looking head on at what the problem is and what the trauma. It's not about saying, oh, it doesn't really exist, or using some affirmation to cover it up. It's about looking at it and knowing that, you know, do you want to honor your own human experience, your anger and all your emotions, and knowing that ultimately it's you that determines how long you're going to stay angry, how long you're going to stay in pain, etc.
Just one quick example.
Yes.
A physician came up to me one day, to Diane and I both, and he had had a fight with his brother. They had not talked to each other for 7 years. He read one of our books. He said, I'm going to call my brother, at least do my part in letting go. And the brother answered the phone and said, okay, I'll have breakfast with you. They didn't talk about the past. They spent about 3 hours with each other, and the brother was killed in an automobile accident 2 days later.
Yes.
And the physician wanted to thank Diane and I for that opportunity of really doing it now, not waiting, not procrastinating, not becoming king or queen of the Procrastinators Club.
And you know, as I read the book, and it is a wonderful book, this Forgiveness, what it reminded me to do was be aware of that anger, and because there will be those upsets. And again, it came back to, but how long will I hold the anger? And you know, you have to forgive yourself too,
Yep.
because
That's what it's all about.
That's a big one. Some people say, you can't do that. Well, yes, you can. It is with intention that you can forgive
Well, we need
yourself.
all the reminders we can. We have this, maybe you can hold this up, Diane.
Oh, I love this, yes.
I call it Healing the Soul, and really created for myself because I needed the help. But a lot of people like using it, and it fits into your shoe, and it says, may every step you take be one of forgiveness, and it has our website, forgivenessworks.org, and it really helps me to look at that every morning and say, okay, here's a new day for forgiveness.
Waiters and waitresses love it.
Oh, it's a great idea. It really is, because it just fits right in there, and we all put our shoes on.
We do.
May every step you take be one of forgiveness. forgivenessworks.org. So that tells us, okay. And you know, we're behaving as best we can because we are humans in this situation. But we can learn, and we can learn processes and steps. We'll be talking more about those because you really are trying to help us with this. But tell me a little bit more about this worldwide project, what you're doing with the gardens, you said?
The Forgiveness Gardens is a part of the Forgiveness Works project, and that is people coming together in community, reaching out to each other in any way that they want. It could be school children, could be people of different faiths, could be people in a neighborhood. And a Forgiveness Garden can be anything from this one group of children had one potted plant, and they treated it like a special treasure. Others made raised flower beds. Others make entire city parks, whether it's in Belfast or in Lebanon, in Beirut, here in Northern California. People are creating forgiveness gardens as a way to come together in community.
and a way of raising the consciousness of forgiveness, because we need all the reminders we can get.
And you're working especially with children in this project too?
Children as well as adults.
Okay.
And the Forgiveness Works project, it also collects incredible data and information on the theological and philosophical and cultural aspects of forgiveness from all over the world. The Forgiveness Gardens is a really fun and exciting, project in Oakland, California. There is the Attitude and Healing Connection, one of the centers, and the centers are all independent. In this particular center, there's a young girl. She was 9 years of age, and she started Children Teachers of Peace with us back in 1981 with Jahan Sadat, our 10-year project about children reaching out in the world. And now she's 28. She's gone through the Oakland College of Arts and Crafts. She's the director of the Art Esteem program in Oakland. And now she's reaching out to the schools in Oakland, and school children are creating forgiveness gardens, and each step of the way they are learning about forgiveness, about uncovering, about nurturing, about planting, about sowing seeds, and being responsible for those. It's quite exciting.
Shakti, it's more than just Forgiveness Gardens. We're really encouraging communities to take on a project of forgiveness in their community, to bring forgiveness into their schools, to have town meetings where people bring their forgiveness stories and talk about the way that forgiveness works, rather than what the newspapers talk about and where it doesn't work.
So communities having a forgiveness evening or a whole forgiveness day, and all that information, those curriculums, there's entire schools now doing forgiveness projects and loading it on the website so others can see.
And we did a workshop for forgiveness. They want to be known as the Forgiveness School of Hawaii.
I love that. Well, with our audience, we're going to share in our next segment 10 stepping stones to forgiveness, because it's something we all need to practice. It truly is. So if you will stay tuned, we will be right back with more of forgiveness, because forgiveness works.
Living in Balance will return after these messages. We now return to Living in Balance on Wisdom Television.
And if you are just joining us, I'm Georgia Shakti Hill, and our subject is forgiveness, because forgiveness works. And our guests are Doctors Diane Cirincione and Jerry Jampolsky, and they are partners in life and in this project, which is wonderful. I visited your website, and I asked you if we might share with our audience some of the stepping stones to forgiveness, because I think that serves people well. And some of the subjects that you had brought up about how it isn't really from weakness that we forgive, it's really from power, and it is such a blessing to the person we forgive, but mostly to ourselves. Yes. The first point in your stepping stones is we must be open to the possibility of changing your beliefs about forgiveness. And how should we think differently about forgiveness?
Well, there's so many of us spend our lives thinking that certain things are unforgivable. And we hold on to that belief that there are certain things that we will never forgive. So it means really being open to that being a mistake. Forgiveness, again, doesn't mean agreeing with that act. It means only healing yourself of the pain and the anger you're holding on to.
Oh, I have to raise my hand. I'm guilty on that one, because I have had what I'd consider some bottom lines that were like unforgivable things, and we just can't hold on to those. It doesn't serve us well.
Well, the reason we want to still believe that they're unforgivable is because we think that forgiving them means condoning them. And forgiveness has nothing to do with condoning or taking away someone else's responsibility.
Yes. Your second point is about being a victim, and we have to be willing to let go of being a victim. And some people have gotten so comfortable with that that it is a little bit of that, oh, pity me.
Well, it is sort of a nice place to hide out. Yeah. It's sort of like guilt. If I'm like feeling guilt, it's like, okay, now I'm guilty. Okay. Now I'm guilty. Yeah, right. It's like a little corner you can hide in, and you have to really make choices to move yourself out of that role. It doesn't mean somebody has to, but if you decide that after a while you want to stop being miserable, then you have a choice. You have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
So many of us take that past experience, superimpose it on the present. We keep scratching the old wounds, and we continue that victim role, and we don't wake up to the fact that we can choose not to be a victim.
Yes.
We can process what happened without carrying it on.
And I remember one of those phrases from one of my teachers, there are no victims, only volunteers. And that really is empowering.
That's a great phrase. I've never heard that before.
But one of the first lines in your book, and I love that book, Forgiveness, we are responsible for our own happiness. And when we say that, that's what we're really looking at, isn't it?
It certainly helps you be in relationship more easily with someone, whether it's someone that you work with, someone you've grown up with, someone that you're married to. Once you realize that ultimately you are responsible, it doesn't mean that there aren't catalytic effects in the world that influence you. Of course they do. But ultimately it's how you deal with it. Attitudinal healing is the realization that it's not people or events or experiences that happen to you that make you upset. It's your experience of those things.
Exactly. 50% of people have not totally forgiven their parents. 75% of people who have divorced have not forgiven their ex-spouses. So we really need to heal those things before we really can have a real relationship today.
And you know, that's that basic psychology 101, and it really is so true. We have to heal the relationships with our parents, and we have to forgive them. They were doing their best.
Exactly. We have to stop blaming other people for our unhappiness and take responsibility for that.
Of course, all those haves and musts and shoulds get translated into you can choose to. Because it's really okay with me if somebody else wants to be miserable. I mean, it's like your choice. And sometimes we just need to stay in that place. I certainly do. And I don't want somebody to pull me out of it. So I need to be comfortable with that, and others can be comfortable with it too. I like knowing that I have choices, that if I am really having a really bad day, that I can do something about that.
Yes, because it feels so much better physically when you're angry is very uncomfortable.
It is.
Remind yourself that your anger and judgments can't change the past or punish someone else, but they can hurt you.
Absolutely. That's what we suffer from. We suffer from our anger. We suffer from our pain. We suffer from our fear of the past, of what has our pain in the past, and our fear of the future, of what is or isn't going to. So it's really the reality that the past is gone. It really remains in our heads only. The future is never going to happen. It's only a thought system that actually becomes the present. So I want to respect the future so that when it does become the present, it doesn't turn into chaos. So it's about really honoring the present.
Or making it more graphic, it's like taking arsenic and expecting someone else to die.
Right. That's true. That is, like, because you're so angry at them. Right, exactly. And they may be going on.
Yeah, they might not even be here anymore, not even know you're upset with them.
Yeah. Okay, you can see the value of giving up not some, but all of your judgments. That is a stepping stone?
A major one. We know a woman who at 90, we met her at 94, at 87, she completely changed her life, an extraordinary woman. And when we asked her, what is it about you that has shifted so much? And she just looked at us, remember, Jerry? And she was from Finland, and she said, I just gave up all my judgments. That doesn't mean we give up our ability to evaluate or our thinking powers. The difference is you can evaluate objectively, and many of us are paid to evaluate. We train a lot of social workers, etc., people who that's your responsibility. That's different than making judgments on people.
And we're talking about judgments like character assassination. It's really possible to see the light in people rather than a lampshade. And we need to stop looking at people's behavior and recognize that people are either loving or that they're fearful of giving a call of help for love. And this really forms the basis of what attitudinal healing is all about.
And if you can step back from that, and you can see that that is where they're coming from. They're coming from fear. And then it is easier to forgive them once you can be detached from the emotion.
Our heart opens up then when we do that.
One can recognize that holding on to anger will not bring you what you truly want. There isn't really a payoff for that anger, is there?
Well, it's a good question to ask ourselves. Does holding on to what I think is justified anger really bring me peace of mind? And I think everyone's going to say, no, not really. And begin to say, well, I don't want to hold on to that then.
And oftentimes it takes time, although we don't realize that we're the ones that determine the time. And so, if you think it's going to take, a year to get over this, then it's going to take a year. If you think it's going to take 6 months, if you think it'll never happen, it will never happen. If you believe that it's possible to happen in an instant, then it will happen in an instant. There's no schedule for anybody. It's just that for each of us to become aware that we have a tremendous amount of input and power over the course of our own lives. Not necessarily what happens on the outside all the time, because a lot of that we don't have control over, but what we do have control over are the thoughts and attitudes and judgments and perceptions and projections that are inside of us.
And it's interesting, there are terrible things that happen, and there are people that do awful things. And we have to just recall that it isn't condoning again. It's just forgiving and stepping back from it.
And it doesn't mean that you don't go out and do something about it, but it means you don't come from the place of your own anger and multiplying the anger, as I mentioned before. It means that once you have found your own responsibility, you say, what do I need to think, say, and do about this situation, and then go out in the world and do it.
A couple of years ago, we were involved in a conference in Bosnia with religious and spiritual leaders on forgiveness and reconciliation, and there was this one priest that shared going to his house and saw it burning. Remember that?
Yes, he was from Serbia, actually, and the Bosnians had taken his parents, grandparents, and 4 siblings in a house, sealed it up, and torched it. And he said at the moment that he saw that, he realized he had 2 choices. He was either going to spend the rest of his life hunting them down and be one of them, or he'd have to learn somehow to forgive. And we found him, of course, as a Serbian priest.
Oh.
Powerful story.
Powerful. Whew. Now, see that there is no value in punishing yourself, that it's a gift to ourselves if we do forgive.
That's right.
Yeah. Jerry, talk about that pill that you often talk about if somebody had a pill that...
Oh, I think I remember. If you have a pill, if you read in your TV program that a pill has been disinvented that's guaranteed to take away all the anger that we ever had, all of our judgments, and it's free.
No side effects.
Yeah, no side effects. We'd run and get it. And this is really what forgiveness does, the decision to and willingness to forgive.
That's why you write that prescription, I understand, right?
That's right. Got it.
Okay. And we can choose to be happy rather than right. Aha.
And that's right in the sense that of righteousness, that in other words, if I'm right, that means I have to make sure that you're wrong.
Yeah. Making the other person wrong. And believe that you have the power to choose the thoughts you put into your mind. So we really can control those thoughts in our mind. That's that practical spirituality even.
Yep, that's what it's all about, that no one else decides what thoughts we put in our mind but ourselves. And so meditation, being prayerful, spending time in nature, learning to still the mind is some of the ingredients that's really important to begin to discipline our mind so we begin to have loving thoughts rather than fearful and attacking thoughts.
And you know, the last one I just love. Be willing to make peace of mind your only goal and believe that forgiveness is the key to happiness.
And everything else can become our intentions. But if you have conflicting goals, you're always going to be in conflict. Peace of mind means having a harmony and integrity in what you think, what you say, what you do. It's not being passive. It's very active and very powerful.
It's really possible to have peace of mind regardless of what's happening in the world. We were in Hawaii recently, and there's a person that's head of the mental health department there, and she stated that she found that having peace of mind was really the only way that she could deal with what was happening outside, that she could choose to do that.
Oh, that is so powerful. It really is, and that is being responsible for our own happiness. Well, bless you and thank you for the work you are doing and sharing your forgiveness with everyone in the latest book, Simple Thoughts That Can Change Your Life. So, blessings and thank you. And if you would like to be in touch with Diane and Jerry, stay tuned and we'll let you know how. And you know, we always love to hear from you. And then we'll have some parting thoughts. Jerry and Diane have authored many books, but the message remains the same. Forgiveness is the key to happiness because forgiveness works. One cannot live in balance in mind, body, and spirit if they do not experience and share forgiveness. Until next time, I'm Georgia Shakti Hill. May you be well, happy, and peaceful, and may you forgive.